All right, so you're ready to really dig into the biggest threats small businesses are facing these days.
Absolutely.
And, well, we've got a great roadmap for this deep dive. It's this report from Barnard Dunnigan Insurance.
Okay.
It's called Top 10 Threats to Small Businesses. And, optimism is great when you're running a business,
Right.
but understanding the risks is, I think, just as important, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, definitely. Sometimes those what-if scenarios are the ones that teach you the most,
I think so, too.
even the ones that maybe you don't want to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
But they can be really valuable.
And this report's kind of a cheat sheet for, those things that every small business owner should be thinking about.
Right.
But maybe they haven't gotten around to yet. Things like supply chain problems.
Hmm.
What happens if you lose a key person on your team? Or even environmental stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing how often those kind of sneak up on people.
Yeah.
They're busy just keeping things running day to day,
Right.
and then boom, some crisis they never even thought about.
Okay, so let's start with something that seems basic, but is super important, your property.
Okay.
This report really emphasizes that for a lot of small business owners, their property is their single biggest asset.
It's true. And, we all hope for the best, but being prepared for the worst is really important.
Yeah.
Like the report says, take a full inventory of what you've got. And not just a list of stuff,
Right.
but, values condition everything. So you really know what you have and you've got enough insurance to protect it.
Cause underinsuring to save a few bucks, it can really backfire.
Oh, absolutely. It's a
Yeah.
gamble you don't want to take. You could lose your whole business.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. You have a fire wipes out your equipment or inventory,
Right.
but you've only got enough insurance to cover half the cost to replace it.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're stuck with a huge bill you might not be able to pay.
And, talking about disasters, this report highlights this crazy statistic that like over 40% of businesses, they never reopen after a disaster.
Wow.
So that really, I think, shows how important it is to have a plan.
Definitely. And property insurance is part of it for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of business owners don't realize that it doesn't always cover everything.
Oh, really?
Like, let's say there's a fire and you have to move to a temporary location.
Right.
That can be really expensive, and standard property insurance usually won't cover it.
So that's where business interruption coverage comes in.
Exactly. It helps you bridge the gap between the disaster and getting your business back up and running.
So it's like a safety net.
It's a good way to put it. It can cover rent for a temporary space.
Mm.
Your employee salaries even lost profits.
Oh, wow.
So you can weather the storm, financially speaking.
Makes sense. Okay, so let's switch gears a bit and talk about those surprises that can pop up even when you're running a tight ship.
Yeah.
Liability issues, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So from what I've read, CGL is what protects you against all those different types of claims.
Right. Commercial general liability. It covers a really wide range of things. Someone slips and falls on your property. You're accused of libel or slander.
Wow.
Even property damage that's caused by your products or services. It's all under that umbrella.
So it takes the pressure off. You can focus on fixing the problem.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about going bankrupt. It
Right.
gives you that peace of mind that no matter what happens legally, you've got a safety net.
Okay, so we talked about property liability now. Let's get into something a little more complex.
Okay.
Key person losses. Have you ever thought about what would happen to your business if a key employee was suddenly gone?
Uh, it's not a fun thing to think about, but every business owner needs to consider it. What if your top salesperson has a health issue?
Right.
Or your lead developer gets in an accident? Key person insurance that can help.
So it's about making sure the business keeps going even when you lose someone important.
Exactly. Think of it like an insurance policy for your peace of mind.
Okay, so we've covered property liability, key person losses. Now let's talk about employees.
Yeah, employees are a big part of any small business.
Yeah, for sure. And it's easy to overlook how important safety is.
Yeah, especially when you're first starting out.
I think a lot of small business owners, especially the ones with smaller teams, they don't really understand what they're responsible for when it comes to safety.
And here's the thing. It doesn't matter how big your business is, you still have the same legal obligations.
Oh, really?
2 employees, 200 employees, you're still responsible for providing a safe workplace. And it's not just about preventing accidents. It's about having the right procedures in place if one does happen.
So like first aid training.
Yep.
Clear reporting processes.
Yeah.
A good return to work program, that kind of thing.
Exactly. Even a small injury can have a big impact on your business. Productivity insurance premiums, morale.
Oh, wow.
So the report suggests investing in a good safety program That's not just the right thing to do. It's smarty business.
Yeah, it's about building that culture of safety.
Exactly. Everyone understands their role in keeping the workplace safe and healthy.
Okay, now let's talk about cyber attacks. It's easy to think, oh, I'm just a small business. Nobody's going to target me.
Right.
But the truth is, small businesses are often the most vulnerable.
It's true. They often don't have the resources for really strong IT security.
Right.
So they're easy targets for cyber criminals.
Mhm.
And the damage can be massive.
How bad are we talking?
Well, the report says the average cost of a data breach is over $200 per record.
Wow.
Now imagine that multiplied by hundreds or even thousands of customer records.
Yeah, that's a lot.
A lot of small businesses wouldn't survive that.
So what's the best way to protect yourself? Is it all about having the right software?
Well, technology is a big part of it for sure. Firewalls, antivirus data backups.
Yeah, okay.
But you also need to train your employees on best practices for cybersecurity.
Makes sense.
But even with all that, there's still risk. And that's where cyber liability insurance comes in.
So it's like a financial cushion if something does happen.
Exactly. It helps cover data recovery, legal fees, even the cost of repairing your reputation.
So it's about understanding that cyber attacks are a real threat.
Yeah.
And doing everything you can to be prepared.
Exactly. Now, when you think about environmental risks, what come to mind?
Big factories, oil spills, that kind of thing.
That's what most people think. But environmental liability, it can affect any business.
Oh, really?
Think about dry cleaners, auto repair shops, even restaurants. They all handle materials that could be environmental hazards.
So it's not just the obvious polluters.
Right. It's about understanding the specific risks for your industry and taking steps to manage them.
Okay, so let's talk about another legal minefield: employment practices. This report has a pretty scary statistic. 3 out of 5 employers, they'll get sued by an employee at some point.
It is a startling number,
Yeah.
but it shows how important it is to understand your legal responsibilities as an employer and create a workplace that's fair and respectful.
Because you might think you're doing everything right,
Yeah.
but there's still a chance you could get sued.
And those lawsuits can be about all sorts of things: wrongful termination, discrimination, harassment, you name it. And even if the lawsuit's totally bogus, defending yourself can cost a lot of money and time.
So is that where employment practices liability insurance comes in?
Exactly. It helps cover legal costs, settlements, judgments.
So you can focus on your business.
Right, not fighting a lawsuit in court.
Okay, so we've covered a lot, but there's still more.
Yeah, there's more to talk about.
Like contracts.
Contracts, those are often overlooked, but they can be a big source of risk.
Yeah, when you're starting out, it's tempting to just sign and get going.
Right, but like the report says, the details are important.
Yeah.
Overlooking those details can lead to big problems later.
Especially when it comes to taking on risks you might not even know about.
Exactly. So having a lawyer look over your contracts before you sign anything that's money well spent.
Makes sense. Okay, let's talk about something that's been on everyone's mind lately: supply chain disruptions.
Oh yeah, the pandemic really showed us how fragile those supply chains can be.
Yeah, all those empty shelves.
And unfortunately, disruptions are becoming more common with everything going on in the world.
So what can small business owners do?
Well, contingency planning is important.
Yeah.
Find alternative suppliers, diversify your sourcing, maybe build up some inventory.
Okay.
But even the best plans can't account for every possibility.
So is that where supply chain insurance comes in?
That's right. It helps cover losses when those disruptions happen that are outside your control.
So it's like a safety net.
Exactly. It gives you that financial cushion when you need it most.
Yeah, it's like having a backup generator for when your suppliers can't deliver.
Exactly. It's all about making your business more resilient. Disruptions are going to happen, so you got to have a plan to deal with them. And, we've been talking a lot about these threats and weaknesses.
Right.
But it's important to remember that Barnard Donegan, they're here to help.
That's true. It's not just about knowing the risks. It's about having someone to help you manage them.
Right.
And Barnard Donegan, they've got all these insurance products and risk management services just for small businesses.
Yeah, and they really understand the unique challenges small businesses face. It's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
Right.
They take the time to figure out your specific risks.
Okay.
Help you create a custom plan and find the right coverage for you.
It's about finding a partner who gets it.
Yeah.
Someone who understands your industry and can guide you through all the ins and outs of insurance and risk management.
Exactly, because let's be honest, that stuff can be complicated.
Yeah, for sure.
But when you have the right partner, it gives you that peace of mind.
Right.
You've done everything you can to protect your business.
And then you can focus on what really matters.
Exactly, running your business and making your dreams a reality.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the top 10 threats to small businesses,
Okay.
what's the one thing you want our listeners to remember?
I'd say the most important thing is knowledge is power. Once you understand the risks, you can start taking steps to manage them.
So don't wait for a crisis to hit.
Right. Be proactive, not reactive.
I like that, proactive, not reactive.
It's about taking control instead of just reacting to whatever happens.
And that can make all the difference in the world.
Absolutely. It's the key to building a successful business that lasts.
So if you're a small business owner listening to this and you're feeling a little overwhelmed by all these risks and threats, just remember you're not alone.
There's help out there.
Yeah, Barnard Donegan Insurance is a great place to start.
Definitely give them a call, set up a consultation. Let them help you create a risk management plan that gives you that confidence to focus on your business.
Great advice. Okay, now before we sign off, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Right.
We've talked a lot about insurance, as a way to transfer risk.
Right.
But what about those risks you can't insure against?
What?
Reputational damage,
Okay.
market fluctuations, changes in consumer behavior, that kind of thing. How do you prepare for those?
That's a good question, and it brings up another important point.
What's that?
You need to build a business that's not just protected, but also resilient and adaptable.
So it's not just about having a solid foundation and a clear vision.
Right. It's also about being able to change direction when you need to.
Yeah, adapt to those market shifts and changing consumer tastes.
Exactly. You got to be nimble, embrace innovation, always looking for ways to improve and evolve.
Because the business world, it's always changing.
That's for sure. The ones who can adapt, they're the ones who will thrive.
Yeah, it's like survival of the fittest, right? The ones who can adapt, they're the ones who make it.
Exactly. And that ability to adapt that might be the best insurance policy of all.
So to all our listeners out there, remember, building a successful business, it's a marathon, not a sprint. You're going to hit bumps in the road, face challenges, and you're going to have to manage risks.
Yeah, that's part of it.
But with the right knowledge, the right partners, and the right attitude, you can overcome those obstacles and achieve your goals.
And don't forget to keep learning.
Yeah.
The business world is always changing, so stay curious, stay informed, and never be afraid to ask for help from the experts.
So we hope this deep dive has given you some valuable food for thought.
Yeah, some things to consider.
Maybe even inspired you to take a closer look at your own risk management strategies.
That's what we hope.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been great talking with you.
We'll see you next time.